Right? Don't let your loyalty be a leash.
When you choose you, people choose you. God's plans for your life is to take you from glory to glory. Guess what? The enemy's plans for your life is to keep you in cycles.
Tell me who your friends are. Tell you where you're going. Right?
I'm grateful that I was the lender and not the borrower. Got it all together all the time.
We go.
People don't relate to the success. They relate to the struggles.
Yes. Welcome to the very first episode of Unplugged with Pam, brought to you by Chosen Global, where we share powerful stories, amplified voices, and allow you to unplug from what does not serve you and plug into purpose, power, calling. I am so excited because today I get to interview and more than anything, chat with one of my closest sister friends, Miss Rachel Almanza. How you doing, girl?
Good. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be a guest here. I love everything that you're doing, Pam, and I always love to support you, girl. Such a girl's girl.
Thank you. The feeling is mutual, and to know you is to truly love you. And I'm just grateful that you're here with us today. And I'm grateful to just have a conversation that probably people haven't really heard when it comes to a little bit about you, your story.
Yes.
I know your journey, and I'm always so inspired by you, inspired by not only what you do, but who you do it for. And you just shine in your purpose, and you are truly a girl's girl. And I'm just so grateful to do life with you. And I'm grateful to get this party started. Let's go.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So tell the people a little bit about you. You know, who is Rachel Almanza?
Yes.
Tell them about your upbringing. Tell them a little bit about your life. And the floor is yours.
Yes. So Rachel Almanza is a little Cuban girl, native from Cuba. I moved from Cuba to the United States with my parents at a young age. I was about 8 years old. When we moved to America, obviously my parents came here chasing the American dream. And just seeing how hard they worked, I seen my dad and my mom grind and hustle day in and day out. They're married to this day, so I've seen the purpose behind their work in their marriage and seeing how intentional they were about everything. And obviously when I was little, I'm like, oh my gosh, why are we moving to this other country? Like, you have me out here just dropping me off in school. I don't even know how to speak English. You know, so at that, and when you're little, like, you don't understand, right?
Absolutely.
So I was like really frustrated. I'm like, why are we moving to this country? I'm like, I barely see my parents. They're always working. However, once I got older, I understood, right, the purpose behind that. They really kind of paved the way for me to be able to chase my dreams. Kind of like they didn't follow theirs, so I can now follow my dreams. And I don't take that lightly. So I always was very intentional with everything that I did because, again, my parents paved the way for that. And I was always in love and obsessed with beauty at a young age. I grew up seeing Miss Universe. I used to play with Barbie dolls. And to me, it was like you can make it anything that you want them to be, right?
Yeah.
It could be a pretty girl. It could be a doctor. So I was always so obsessed with Barbies and pageantry. So I grew a love and passion for pageantry at a young age. And it was something that I was able to turn into a business. I always say, you know, if money wasn't a factor, what would you still wake up and do for free? And I feel like for me, it was pageantry, and I fell in love with pageantry. I started competing in pageants, and not just competing, I found how much I grow from within, right? Like how much confidence it gave me, how I wasn't shy to get in front of a mic at a young age. So it was those things that people don't see. They just think it's all about the beauty. But later on, I'm like, wow, like I really want to now teach women everything that pageants taught me. So I felt like that was really my purpose. So get everything from that and now share it with others.
I love that though, because, you know, those are things that they shape us, you know, and like you said, they didn't follow their dreams to kind of allow you to follow yours. And that is so important because our parents have such a huge impact in our lives. And whether we're seeing them work, and not only did they shape you being able to, you know, look at what your dreams are going to look like, but also unplug from limiting beliefs at such a young age.
So good.
Because like you said, they allowed you, they don't, you know, they gave you wings so that you could fly pretty much. So how did that feel? Like you said, you know, you came to another country, not speaking the language. You had no idea what was going on. Like, how did that allow you to not only flourish, but like you said, you know, just have this limitless mindset that you're just like, what can I do?
Yes, I think that's such a good question, Pam, because it's so different when you know that you're supported.
Yeah.
You like when you're supported, you move differently. And that's been on faith, knowing that like if you believe in that and you know he's supporting you, you take risks. The fear, I don't entertain that thought. So in the physical, knowing that like my parents lived for me and that I was so supportive, it allowed me to go out there and take chances and move so confidently, knowing that like if I fail, like my dad got me. My mom, you know, and it sucks to say, like, it's not being cocky or arrogant, but this is about being good parents, to know that like life no longer becomes about you, but about helping shape the next generation. So that's what I feel like my parents did for me. They allowed me to be so supported that I was able to take risks without thinking like, oh my God, what if this doesn't work? Well, I never thought that, because I'm like, oh, if it doesn't work, my parents got me and they're going to help me pivot. Yeah. And it's kind of like, I saw a picture of like two mountains, and like I saw like a guy laying in between both of the mountains, and a little girl was crawling from one mountain to the other. So when I saw that picture, I'm like, this has been my dad my whole life. Like he's paved the way and allowed life for me to be easy, so I can now chase my dreams. So I think just the support from them, whether it was always, their love, them pouring into me, them pouring into making sure I was always busy in dance classes, modeling classes. I did everything, and that really helped shape who I am.
Absolutely. And I think it's like you said, it's such a strong support system. Because you don't really realize in the moment of, you're just like, my parents are just dropping me here. Yeah. They're just telling me to go do this. They're just telling me to go do that. Yeah. And then later on, and you look back at it and you're like, man, that really shaped my beliefs. That really shaped my determination. That really shaped my consistency. That really allowed to shape my habits. And, we always talk about, it's like, you have to let go of what does not serve you to step into what does serve you. And your parents being that support system, your parents paving the way, made such a huge impact in your life that now you get to live a life on purpose, chasing your dreams, but you're also impacting other people. Yeah. And I'm sure that it wasn't always easy, because getting into pageantry and dancing and competing at such a young age, like, did you grow up with any limiting beliefs at all, or any things that you could look back at and be like, man, this was a limiting belief and I had to let go of that? Like you said, now you identify those thoughts, like you hold those thoughts captive and you switch it and you're like, that's not going to serve me. We couldn't let go of it. Yes. But thinking back like at your childhood, was there anything that you ever were just like, man, this became a complex and I knew I had to let go of it, or like get out of that? Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think even just in the industry that I was in, you had to be a certain height, a certain way. Like you had to, when you see runway models or Victoria's Secret models, they had to be, 5'8" or taller, or skinny. So I grew up like, I'm probably never going to make it in the industry of like modeling or pageants, because they do pick the tallest and skinniest girls. Yeah. But when I really locked into, again, doing the public speaking classes and really started to know so much more about myself, I realized that like, it's never the look. Yeah, that's what they show on TV, but like you can do anything that's right. And which is how I found out the petite system, that I'm like, there's really something out here for everyone. And instead of focusing so much on like what these models look like, let's focus on what you can do with, and how can you amplify what you're already doing within your industry to not make it so much about the beauty, which is why now with my pageant, it's so much more than just them coming and looking beautiful. Like they have to serve their community. Yeah. They have to make sure that they're out there working. I'll tell you that when we talk about unplugging from limiting beliefs, I had a limiting belief when it came to pageantry. Yeah. Because that was what it is. Like I like to model and stuff. And I was just like, girl, you're a little too thick to be modeling. It's like, you look too thick, you look too short. Like my mom's nickname for me was Golda growing up, So she wasn't, she was telling me that the cariño of like something in love, but an endearment. But little did she know that I was like, oh my goodness, I'm too fat to do this. I'm too fat to do that. Right. You don't think that, but those words matter. Yes. But at the same time, she's calling me this, but she's also telling me like, you can do all things. Like you said, we can do hard things. Like seeing her be a single mom and always hustle and bustle to make sure like we were always all good. It became something that I'm just like, there is nothing we can't do. If she can work 2 or 3 jobs to take care of 3 kids on her own. And I remember when it was just my sister and I, and we were living in New York, and she was going between jobs and making sure like we were all good, and also making sure we were fed and making sure we had clothes dressed to the T and super all of these. Yeah. So I love it. You kind of pick those things up as you go along. And why I say that is, a limiting belief when it came to pageantry. Like I remember when you and I met and you invited me to become.
Yes.
First of all, let's talk about how we met. Let me back this up real quick.
Judge too.
Yes. So Rachel and I met in a bathroom.
Yes.
In a bathroom in one of the Tampa local restaurants. And this is why it's important that you show up as who you are all the time.
Always.
And I had a business meeting that day that actually rescheduled. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to stay here and talk about intentionality. I was like, I'm going to stay here because you never know who you're going to meet and what God has for me. And little did I know, when I was going to the bathroom, she actually was there for a woman empowerment event.
I was.
Right?
Yeah.
And we complimented each other authentically.
You were wearing this cute pink outfit.
Yeah, and you were wearing something cute. Was a cute shirt. I was like, oh my God, you're so pretty. And we just complimented each other. And off of that compliment of just being who we are, we flourished this beautiful friendship, sisterhood that I'm so grateful for. And then she invited me on to be part of the judge of the Florida Petite Pageant.
Yes.
And I remember walking into this and I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to expect?
Yeah.
And I was blown away. Because like you said, you revolutionized, I feel like, when it comes to pageantry. And you also breaking so many stigmas because when I came into that space, I was like, okay, all these girls are going to be superficial. All they're going to care about is their looks. And all they want is the crown. But it was why. So you gave us these binders where they had profiles, but then in their profiles, it's not only like, oh, what their height, what their weight, where they're from. Oh, what's their platform?
That's right.
Why are they doing this? And I was so inspired, and not only by the platforms that they were utilizing these crowns to serve, but the overall sisterhood. That was just incredible to witness, and how these girls were rallying each other on. And you also have just broken those stigmas. Like, how does that feel to kind of, come into a world where so many people had limiting beliefs, like myself, even, or biases when it came to that. And now you're completely giving these women a platform. Yeah, it's incredible.
It's truly amazing to witness and to see, especially when, these girls come into my world and my arena. Most of them come also not knowing what to expect because they too see TV and they want to be beauty queen. And they're like, oh my gosh, I think I can do this. And most of them, believe it or not, they are not confident at all. Yeah. Even like sometimes the most beautiful woman that I've gotten to encounter, they don't believe in themselves. So to me, sometimes it's like when I see this beautiful girl and I get to meet her, I'm like, oh my gosh, like do you not see what I'm seeing?
Yeah.
So to me,
love that.
What I love most about my job is seeing more for people than what they see for themselves.
That's good.
So when I get to experience these girls, because I'm a firm believer that we are here in this world to be able to experience people. Once they're in my stage, in my arena, I want them to leave here, whether they win or lose. The purpose is to know how amazing they are. And for me, when they're in my presence, I'm always pulling out of them things that they don't see in themselves. And I feel like that's always been a God-given gift of mine. It's just seeing more for people than what they see for themselves. It's kind of like a mirror. Like I'm always, because I grew up with so much love and so much to give, I can see greatness in people so easily.
Yeah.
So even the most beautiful woman, I'm like, girl, do you not see you? And most of these women don't see their power. They don't tap into their God-given light. So for me, it's allowing the pageant to be that stage for them to truly know, once they tap into who they are. Obviously, like people see the glitz and glamour in the pageant, but they don't see the work that's done behind the stage, where it's me coaching them, me talking to them about their purpose, their confidence, just knowing that the crown and sash is really just a microphone and a tool for them to be able to step into their full purpose.
Absolutely. And I love it because, you grew up one way, and with the love and support, like you said, when you grew up in this pageantry world, you were like, oh, well, this petite may not be for me because I'm petite, because I'm small. But then you unplugged from that limiting belief.
I sure did.
And you said, not only am I going to unplug from it and own my beauty and my power, but now I'm going to create a platform as powerful as not only the Florida Petite system, but you recently launched your Crown community.
That's right.
To empower these women. And like you said, just completely change the meaning behind pageantry, amplify their voices, their stories, and let them know that their worth and their value comes way more beyond what a crown or what a judge can say. I love that.
Yeah, and I think to piggyback on the Crown Network, I launched that about almost, it's going to be 2 years now, next March. And where that started is obviously I've had the Florida Petite going on 6 years now. And I noticed how much the girls love the 3 day spending time with each other, being on the stage. And after the pageant is over, it's like, oh, now I got to sign up for next year's pageant. So I had a contestant be the year that I launched Crown Network. She, gave me a big hug after the pageant was over. Obviously, she didn't win her place, but she tells me, she's like, oh, so this is where the magic ends. Oh. So to me, I literally went home and I couldn't sleep because I'm like, it's not where, this is where it now begins. So for me, it's like, how can I cultivate something where it's a community beyond this pageant where these girls know that the magic is on everyday sparkle in life? So that's why I'm like, okay, I need to create something bigger than the pageant now. I need to now cultivate a community so these girls can continue to show their magic.
Amen.
And that Crown, from her saying this is where the magic ends, that's where Crown Network started.
Wow. Yeah. That's incredible. And it's so beautiful and that's why it goes to showing like you gave these women such a safe space to be able to share with you their thoughts, be vulnerable. Yeah. Because we need more spaces like that, to allow us to.
Especially for women.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And because you gave them a safe space to be able to just be and voice how they're feeling, no matter whether they deem it good or bad or positive or negative, it's like she was able to voice something to you that sparked something, because had you never created that space for her,
right? Correct.
She would have never even told you, been like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to tell her. She's the director,
correct?
And they look up to you so much and they respect you, but it's also like they embrace you because I've seen it.
They do,
because you do pour so much into them. And even though this community, it's, like you said, newly launched 2 years.
Yes.
You can see it continuously growing. I love that you also have people that come and pour into them during the pageant and all of these things, because it's like they need those little voices that go beyond what you're telling them. And to hear other stories is just so much power in people's stories, and it allows them also to be like, man, even if I don't win the crown, I am chosen.
That's right.
I am wonderful. I am fearfully, I am amazing. And I can come back one day and share my story with these women and spark something else in them. And I love that. So creating this Crown Network, I'm sure there have been some hurdles or even in your life or some things that you've had to, or even places or people. Talk to me if there's ever been a moment or a time or something that you've had to unplug from or just limit your time there or limit your energy because whether it was draining or it was just not allowing you to get closer to where it is that you want to be. Because, your community, we talk about this all the time, is like your community is either propelling you or they're imprisoning you.
That's right.
Yeah, they're pushing you forward or they're holding you back.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, it's knowing how to unplug from things that are not serving me for my future self. Yeah. Right? Because we live in the present moment and it's a great gift. But sometimes we're bound to people that remind us of who we used to be or places or just certain patterns of this is just not who I used to be anymore. And you can still love those people, but set boundaries with them. So I had a really hard time loving people and wanting to take them with me, but not knowing that they weren't ready to go. So I can still love with boundaries and I know that I'm not neglecting them, but where God is taking me and in the future that he has for me, sometimes people are going to fall off. And me as I love people and I love hearts. So for me, it's knowing how some of my day ones can't come with me because they're just not there yet. Yeah. So, knowing how to love with boundaries, that has been something that I'm working on every day, but I'm getting better at it. Yeah. But, sometimes again, seeing for people say, oh, why can't you let's do this together? And sometimes you can have a rubric for people, and if they're not ready to change, then they're not ready to receive the help. You can help them where you want, but they're just not ready to change.
Yeah, I love that. I remember what Mentor telling me is when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yes.
And because we hear, and it's biblical, because it's you're not a prophet in your own land. And that all comes from the same thing. It's if somebody is not willing to actually put in the work, if somebody is not willing actually to show up, and they're just not ready. And sometimes it's not that they're not even willing, it's just that they don't even have the awareness. Right. They don't even have the awareness of just being able to say, oh, I need this better. Because in their mind, you know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing. I said, no, me, my cosa, over and over and over again. And be like, oh, I'm expecting
some different.
Yeah, okay, it's something different.
You're not.
If you keep doing the same thing over again.
We're gonna be and that's good. And sorry to cut you off, but thinking that is like when I recently went to like an encounter at my church, and they have this Bible verse that like it's like God's plans for your life is to take you from glory to glory. And I'm like, just like how God's plans for your life is to take you from glory to glory, guess what? The enemy's plans for your life is to keep you on cycles. Ooh. So you don't go from glory to glory, keeping you doing the same thing, thinking you're doing something different, but it's waking up out of those cycles from then now going from glory to glory. And God doesn't want you to be in cycles.
Amen. I love that. And you know, you said something as like, loving people with boundaries.
Oh yeah,
that was really hard to wake up. Yes, absolutely. Because you know, and I believe like as human beings, right? We are spiritual beings, really.
Yes,
we're living out this human experience.
Yeah,
and too many times we're tough on ourselves. And I'm that person too. Like I give more people grace than I give myself sometimes. And I'm like, girl,
yeah,
it's okay. It's okay. Like you're not where you want to be at. In this and this and that and this, but girl, thank God you're not where you was at.
Okay,
you was where you thought you was gonna be at.
That's
Also, when you give yourself grace, also I feel like when you give yourself grace, you give also yourself more room to grow. You do, and like you, I love hard, and it's tough to let go of people and let go of these places and. Honestly, it's like people sometimes when you have known them for so long or you've done so much life with them, they become such a huge part of your identity.
They do.
They become a huge part of your identity because a lot of people sometimes is like, oh, you know, my identity is just the roles that I occupy or the positions or the places. And sometimes we tie it to a career or a business or a company. And no, it's like your roles is like when all of that leaves, like, who are you still?
That's right.
What's your purpose? And you know, what are your values? What are your beliefs? Because that's what makes your identity. And a lot of times when we spend so much time with people, it's like my mom used to always be like, dime con quién anda y te
yeah.
Right?
So it's funny because you get upset when you was little, like that's not true. And now that I'm older, I'm like, what?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Those are my friends. They gonna be my friends forever.
I'm a leader. I don't get influenced. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a translation is basically saying, tell me who your friends are, tell you where you're going. Right.
Yeah, that's right.
And, you know, Dominican, Cuban, like we heard it all the time. And I remember my mom telling me this, and I'm just like, my friends ain't influencing me like you. I'm like, I'm a natural born leader. You always tell me I'm a natural born leader. Like I am the head and not the tail. Like I don't know what you're talking about, but it is so true. It is so true. And it's when you have that level of awareness and you are sure of your calling and you are sure of where you're going and where God is taking you, you understand that if the assignment got to be in alignment. And every aspect of it, it has to be in alignment in some way, shape, or form, because if it's not, and then it just don't make sense. And a lot of times it's tough because when you do love hard, you know, a lot of people, if they don't have that same level of awareness or they don't just understand the assignment that you're on, and it's not for them to understand, let's be real.
It's really not,
Yeah, they may take it personal.
Yeah.
And I've also realized that it's like, you have to let go of certain things and certain places, just like how we have to let go of certain beliefs that did not serve us, certain expectations, certain things. We got to let go of those places, of those people, because, and it's not letting them go in like you said, in anything bad, but it's also just loving them at a distance.
That's right.
I could love you and pray for you and not have to spend any time with you. And that will be okay. And you'll probably get a text or a birthday message or, hey, or I'll pop, just because you understand that it's like, where you're going, sometimes they can't go.
That's right.
And I learned this the hard way too, because I was like, I am at the wrong place at the wrong time right now. And the only reason I'm here at this wrong place at this wrong time is because I'm letting my loyalty to this person be a leash.
Ooh, that's bars. Yeah.
Right. Don't let your loyalty be a leash.
That's good.
Because you hear that, and I remember hearing that first in business. And I know that was only applying to business because, you know, this business is no longer serving me. And I'm just like, whatever, like, nah, my calling is greater than the circumstance and I'm going to keep going and it don't matter. And you look back at it, because hindsight is always 20/20.
Yeah.
You look back at it and you're like, espérate, eso no fue, that was not part of it. Like that, I know I wasn't supposed to be in this season of struggle so long. And I was in that season. And sometimes we prolong the seasons that we're in because we're not learning what we were supposed to learn in the first place.
That's true.
So that's why I believe like also letting go of these things is like, it's so important. Has there ever been something that you learned after the fact and you look back, you're like, man, God was trying to teach me this same lesson over and over and over again, and I don't know, like, why it took me so long? Like, what did that look like, and what did that make you feel like after?
Yeah, I definitely, girl, I somebody else. But I honestly just think again, knowing that we don't possess people. We're only here to experience that. So for me, even in past relationships, like I attracted so many broken men because I thought, oh my God, they never had love. I'm here to give them love. And I was like, oh, I can change them. They haven't experienced a person like me. And again, I kept on going from cycles. I kept on meeting same spirits and different bodies. Ooh. So God was like, girl, what are you doing that? What are you doing? Like, let go and let me be God. You're not here to change someone. You're not here to possess anyone. So when I started really surrendering, like, I was like, okay, I'm tired of meeting these broken men. Because I'm like, I'm out here doing all these things. And it was, again, I'm meeting different bodies and same spirits, different bodies. So when I truly let go and I'm like, I am going to now operate at a higher consciousness to know this is who I am, so I can now attract the person that I do not have to overextend myself for. They're going to see me for this high queen that I am, that I've always been, right?
Yeah.
But I am not going to be the overextender. I feel like sometimes when you choose you, people choose you. But when you're out here being an overextender, overgiver, people are like, oh, okay. Like, it's also kind of like, okay, well, I see where I can have you now. So knowing that, like, self-love, it's not selfish to choose you and make you a priority. Because when you do that, you're now going to attract the people that are at the same consciousness as you. When you start to choose you and when you're not a people pleaser, when you're not, I think for me also, like I grew up watching my mom be such an overextender and overgiver, and she would always put herself last and always make sure, my dad and I ate first. And that was beautiful to see. But the older that I got, she also taught me how to love myself, because I'm like, I want to be the person that I want my kids to see. I know how to love because I've seen my mom choose her every day. Whether it's waking up, how you're dressed, making sure you do your hair and makeup and you embody that. Because a lot of people believe that, oh, well, that's going to change when you have kids. No, this is a character trait of mine. And I'm going to teach my kids that you need to pour love into yourself so they can know what it's like to know that you come first, because you cannot pour from an empty cup.
That's right.
But for a long time, I was operating in that low vibrational, oh my God, I'm going to do these for people. And when I started choosing me, that's when everything in my business started lining. I attract, my fiance now.
Let's go.
Friendships, like I attracted you as a friend. So, and it's like, wow, this all happened when I started operating at a higher consciousness of pouring that love back into myself.
I love that. And that's it's so necessary, because
so necessary,
but thank God, like you learned that and you were like, okay, well, I had to unlearn this.
Yeah.
Because that was
going from the cycles.
Yeah. And you're like, now I'm going from glory to glory, because I was done. I'm done going to cycles. Okay. And don't know where the cycles with the cycles.
Okay. That part. How can we test that?
Right. and I love that you say, you're like, when you start choosing you, like people choose you.
Ooh.
And self-love is not selfish.
No.
And self-care isn't selfish. And that's powerful in itself too, because a lot of times we shy back on doing things. And it's funny because people be saying that to me too. They're like, oh, you're only in heels and only like this because you don't got no kids. And I'm like, y'all don't know what my mother was. Right. And if you know where Benny steps, I love it. You had to see her, because from head to toe, the drip was serious. And for those that don't know what drip is, that means you was dressed to the T. Like my good friend over here says, dress how you want to be addressed.
Dress how you want to be addressed. Yeah.
Pesaba el ruedo esa mujer donde quiera que ella entraba. Okay? Ella de pie a cabeza. Accessories, this, that. And we always saw that growing up. So that's why I place such value on it. She used to always say, is just like, no, like how you walk into, like, make sure your presence is felt every single time. And it's not because you don't have to have the most expensive things on, but yes, be very well groomed. Take care of yourself, because if you take care of you, people are going to take care of you.
That's right. Ooh.
So that's why when you were like, oh, true, when you choose yourself, people choose. It reminded me of that because I was like, damn, mommy says
So true.
but it is true. And those are things that it's like people don't really think about. So tell me, what's some things that you do to just unplug? Because, you know, you are just the girls. You're an amazing daughter. Like, I love your parents. Spending time with them is just incredible. Yeah. You're an amazing fiance, an amazing friend, an amazing leader, pageant director, community builder. And I'm sure those are so many different things that you have to just be your very best at.
Yeah.
That sometimes you need things that you unplug. Like, what does that look like for you?
So for me, the way that I unplugged is always going on a walk by the water. I feel like I feel the closest to God when I'm alone by the water and just like spending that intimate one-on-one time with him, right? Because like I love being around people and it's a part of my calling. Like I feed off of people, like I get my energy from people. But for me to be able to pour, I have to get my energy from God and be intentional with the time that I spend with him, you know? And just really always, before I ask him for anything, I'm always so grateful when I speak to God about everything that he's done in my life, how much he's blessed me. I always exalt my father because I feel like it can't be a one-way relationship. It can be, oh my God, you can't just go to God and be like, oh my God, I'm struggling. What? Help me, girl. No, you have to exalt him. Like, even if you are struggling, thank you for the roof thank you for providing. I ate today. Thank you. So I always allow myself to wake up in gratitude, even if I am not where I want to be. Even if I'm struggling, I am always exalting God for what I already have so he can bless me for what I deserve when it's time.
Absolutely.
So unplugging for me, it's just spending that one-on-one intimate relationship with God, whether it's like in a prayer closet, but for me, it's just really being by the water.
Yeah.
And just talking to God like, oh, Lord, like, I'm grateful, but listen to we're going through it right now.
Girl. Yeah, absolutely. And I love that because water is just so healing and it's so calming. Like the ocean, I just automatically feel that all the time too. And I think that one of the greatest things, like you said, is like, you know, you have to plug into what is going to give you the source, what's going to give you power. Because so many times, especially as women, we do the most and we love doing the most. Yeah. Because like you said, I love acts of service. I love helping people. I love giving. Yeah. I think we're wired like that to just always want to serve. Yeah. But it's like, you got to make sure you're serving yourself. Absolutely. Yes. Because that matters. Yes. You have to serve yourself so that you could serve anything and everybody else. Because you can't serve from an empty cup. Yeah. And I love that you're like, you know, I have my routine where I am moving my body because like our emotional triad is composed of like our body, our focus, our language, and the very state that we're moving our body. Yeah. In the very things of what we're speaking, very things of what we're declaring, what we're focusing on. So that, you know, that trio is kind of makes how we feel. So the fact that you're like, okay, well, I'm being grateful for what I have. Because like you said, yes, when you are grateful for what you have, you make more room for what you make. Yeah. But you're also saying like, I'm exalting God, like I'm praising God. I'm like telling him like, I'm thank you because again, the language that you're speaking, I always say like, speak what it is that you want to speak. It matters as well. And that also allows you, I believe, so because you're focusing on the greatness and you're focusing on the good and you're focusing on the blessings. It's like what you focus on becomes the longest. Yeah, it expands. Absolutely. So I love that because I feel like that's one of the greatest things of like people need to also hear is like, yes, you may see this glitz and the glamour and you may see all of this and we may have like, we got it all together all the time. But we should not. We're human too. Right. We just look amazing. Right. Glory to God. But you know, we don't look like what we've been through. Right. That part. Yeah. We don't look like what we've been through. And I think that that's, you know, that's important. I think as we kind of bring this in for a landing, like talk about what was one of those defining moments for you that whether it was in your business, whether it was, you know, in like it's talking about, we talked about relationships, we talked about upbringing. Yeah. Talk about like, what was one of those defining moments for you in your life that you're like, okay, this is something that may have been made to destroy me, but I'm going to use it to empower me and plug me into my purpose. Yeah. I think it's about knowing one that we're anything that we go through, it's happening for us.
so we can now share our testimony so we can help people not go through it, or we can save people. So for me now, I don't look back at anything that's happened to my life as a victim mentality. Like, oh my gosh, why did I do this? Why did I allow all these people to use me? Because guess what? I'm grateful that I was the lender and not the borrower. I'm grateful that I was always the head and not the tail. And I'm grateful that God has always allowed me to have glory. Even if people have wronged me, I have always been blessed to always be the abundant of the help that people needed. So for me, it's now knowing that I'm truly so vulnerable to, even when I, experience the girls in my pageant and they talk to me about their relationship issues. And I'm like, I'm sharing my testimony, because it's not a way for us to be in bondage of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. But now I share with victory, like, girl, this was me too. And until you choose yourself, like you're always going to live that. So now I wholeheartedly make that a part of my ministry in my pageants, where I'm sharing my testimony on how God literally pulled me out of the pit. And I truly surrendered. I'm like, until I started living my life for a greater purpose, and until I didn't start sharing my testimony, I was again in cycles. But when I started opening my mouth and sharing my testimony in my ministry, which is my business and my pageant, because at first I was scared, right? The enemy always, oh my God, no, you can stay in your lane. Teach these women about confidence and beauty, and that's it. And I'm like, I don't put my God in a box. I'm going to teach them about confidence and beauty, but I'm also going to put him in it, because he's using me to make this more than just a pageant.
Absolutely.
So when I started incorporating my testimony, I started bringing in guest speakers. I started praying over that. I started putting God, everything in my life started expanding in so many ways. So I say this to say that everything that you've gone through in life has made you who you are, but don't ever forget to share the story of everything that you've been through, because people don't relate to the success. They relate to the struggles. So when they see me as a pageant director, oh my gosh, she has it all together. No, I don't. And let me share how I was once you. So I share more of how I was broken with them, to let them know that you're not here to glorify me. I was just as broken as you, but God.
Yeah.
This is who we are.
I love that. So we spoke about our relationships.
Yes.
And, thank Chris as well for allowing me to be a part of your beautiful engagement. And it was just so magical. And I absolutely love that. He was so detail oriented, but he was so thoughtful. He had all of your closest friends there. One of your best friends flew in from Texas to be there.
Amazing.
It was on July 4th. It was literally fireworks. Okay.
Yes.
It was one of the most beautiful moments of my life. It was such a beautiful engagement.
Yeah.
The proposal, the details. I mean, it was just pure joy. But it hasn't always been joy on the journey in relationships.
It hasn't.
So I want to talk about recently, because I was privileged enough to know this aspect of it.
Yes.
When it came to your relationship. And I remember you telling me, listen, I know that this is the man that God has for me, but at the same time, I'm going to let God kind of be the one to let me know.
Yeah.
But you got to that point because of certain things that took place. So talk to us about what was that took place.
Yes. So it's so crazy, because I can talk about it, but you guys have to you've seen the videos. So around May, him and I took a trip to Thailand. And this was May of this year, actually. And before May, I probably within the last late 2024, my relationship with God it wasn't priority. I would say that. I always knew, my relationship with my father, but it wasn't the priority, because I was focused on business and this and relationship. And again, I was putting other things in idol, but God. So I started going to church less. I was to pray here and there, but it wasn't as intentional as it used to be. So, and obviously, we are, things between us have never been perfect. We've always worked through things. We've always had hiccups, but we've always been able to work through them. But even in the beginning of this year, we went through something in our relationship where, I prayed about it, but again, God wasn't the center. So the way that it's so crazy, because we were literally in Thailand, and in this weekend that we were in Thailand, I had a friend that I spoke to at her grand opening event. And we're good friends, but we weren't close. And she goes to a church called Abundant Love, which I've never visited a day in my life. And she sends me a message, and she was like, hey, just so you know, like this prophet is going to be in town. It's like a 3-day event. And I was like, oh my gosh, love, I would love to be there, but I'm going to be in Thailand. Okay, no worries. So she sent me the invite. So in the spirit, like something was already going on. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to be able to make it. So long story short, we literally wake up in Thailand. This was like 7:30 in the morning. I get a FaceTime call from her. Mind you, like she never calls me. And
She called you on FaceTime.
FaceTime.
So it's like,
and it's
you literally probably about to get your face declined right now.
yeah, and she sure did. So I'm like, why is Julie calling me? I was like, it's early over here. So I politely, and I was like, if it's important, like she'll text. So she did. She was like, we're at the church. I don't know what time is it over there, but the prophet is literally calling you out by name. So answer this call. And I'm like, what? Mind you, like, I'm like, the prophet calling, I'm out, girl. So then I have another friend that goes to the church. She's literally calling me like, Rachel, like, this prophet literally called you in the spirit with like your mole, your beauty mark. So he literally was like, you know, he was prophesying over her like, hey, you had an event. Who were the women there? And she was like, there was hundreds of women. No, and specifically, and he also said there's a governmental official there. The mayor was there.
Right, yeah.
And he's like, there's another woman that has like blonde hair. Matter of fact, I see like a beauty mark. And then her daughter, by you, Julie didn't know. So maybe I probably wouldn't remember. Her daughter was like, Mom, that's Rachel. So he was like, yeah, call her. And I'm like, and I'm scared. I'm like, what if I get a word that I don't want to hear? But like, I literally go harder in my spirit.
The fear of God is real.
The fear of God. I'm like, I've never experienced something where I'm in a whole different country and God decides to shut down a church to give me a word. I was terrified. So I'm like, I need to pick this up. So Chris went to downstairs for breakfast, and I'm glad it was just me and God. But he literally was just like, who did you travel with where you're at? And I'm like, some friends. Because again, like, this is a congregation of the church. I'm not married.
And you're on FaceTime. Everybody's hearing you.
I don't want to get judged, you know?
Yeah.
I'm over here like some friends. And like, they don't know. So I'm like, he's going to take. He's like, no. You might not know me, but I'm a prophet. In the room of the spirit, you stay here with some friends. But I see a man. Who did you travel with? And I'm like, oh, yeah, the guy's
telling all my business.
Yeah, he's like, there's a man that you are talking to. You travel with him. And I'm like, yes. And, he like went straight. He was like, the Spirit of the Lord says that you have gone through many cycles of your life where relationships you've been attracting a lot of broken people. And God has seen your heart, which is why he's also pulled you out of the pit. And he's like, and I see like, many women, many people that are going to get saved through your life. But you need to make God a priority, because if you don't, like, the enemy is going to take bondage of your life. And he literally was like, I don't know if the man that you travel with is your husband. I can't guarantee you that. But he's like, but God says, if you come back to church to start where you left off with him, and you come back and you serve him and you continue your ministry, I see you being married in less than 2 years.
Crazy.
And that's exactly what I did. I literally had a conversation with him. I'm like, listen, I love you, but I love God more. So I need to, if you're really meant for me, like, again, I operated it choosingly. I'm like, if you're really meant for me, like, it wasn't like a breakup. It was just more like, you have been an idol. My business has been an idol. Like, let me go back and consecrate and see what God wants. And while I did that, God was also working on him and his heart, seeing things that like he could do better as not even the leader of his home, but as a father as well. So he was just working on, but the thing is that us as humans, we're so scared because we think that like, oh my God, God's plans for us is that, I don't know if God's plans, but like God wants exactly everything that your heart desires. Yeah. He is just ready for you to continue to serve him and put him first so he can start taking control. And that's what I did. I operated in faith. And I'm like, I am going to choose me. I started going back to the church. I was called to go back to Abundant Love Church. I went to an encounter, a 3-day encounter with Jesus. And it was the best investment of my life. And that alone has been truly life-changing.
I love that.
And that is the testimony. And
mind you, this happened in May.
Yeah.
And then she got proposed to July 4th.
July 4th.
Okay. So I was like, back to back. Yeah. And the wedding is about to be next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like about the prophecy just coming time. But I also is like the prophecy came to life, but it was because you first chose to be obedient.
That part. Ooh, yeah.
And I don't know what it would have looked like if you wasn't obedient, but I don't want to find out either. Right. And I thank God that you were obedient enough and that you also not that you only were obedient, but you also, like you said, you chose God, and and it's easy for us to say it. And sometimes, I love the vulnerability, because that's why I was like, I asked permission. Yeah, we had this conversation, because I think that a lot of times people think that, oh, you got to be perfect when you're walking this walk, and no, we're not perfect. That's why we seek him.
That's right.
There's parts of us that are broken. That's why we need him. We need the healing. That's why we're called to consistently be in our word. The word is a lamp to our feet. It's supposed to order our steps. We're called to community. That's why in the multitude of wise counsel, there is safety.
Oh, yes.
So had you not had been there at that place with that lady, had she not been able to reach you, again, the people around you have an impact on what it is. And I love that he also was like, hey, I'm going to respect where you're at. I'm going to respect where you're at. And I'm also, because I remember even talking to him, he was just like, man, listen, in that season, she was on a trip with her girls, and I was at church. I went to church by myself, and I was talking to God, and God is like, it's time. So she didn't know that while she's over here, I'm already going ring shopping. Because he was like God told me it's time, and I was just so blown away by the story, because it's, we all love like happy endings and like the fairy tale story, but it's like there is still some fire in the fairy tale. There is some fire that you have to go through. And a lot of times, pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. And we prolong the suffering by, like you said, staying in these cycles that do not serve us. Staying around people that do not serve us. Staying in habits that do not serve us.
And wanting to do it off of our own will. And it's like, like it's not our own will. It's God. And the thing is like he wants to expedite things so he could be the one to get the glory. Because when we do things off of our own will, he doesn't get the glory, because I didn't tell you to do that. But seeing how in the mix and so involved he was in, our soon to be covenant, and my fiancés and I, and just even seeing like the growth that he's done with him and his character as a man and just everything. I'm like, wow, like God is so good. And I literally remember like on the plane ride from Thailand, I'm like, the book ends here. Like, I cannot continue to allow the devil to continue to keep me in bondage or continue to write any state in my testimony. Like, the book ends here. Like, I'm going to be married. And from here on out, God is going to get the glory off of everything that I have, because it's going to be God said. It's not.
Amen. Yes, girl.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. So leave them with some parting words. Talk to them. If you have, whether you're talking to a man or a woman, someone that is just like, listen, I'm struggling with unplugging from what's not serving me or who's not serving me, whether it's habits, whether it's people, whether it's places, whether it's routines, whatever. And the power of just plugging into your purpose. What would you tell them?
That's good. I would say, know that your purpose is, you're not meant to do it alone. You're obviously called here by a higher being, whatever you believe in. So if you feel lost or confused, or you don't know where you want to go in life or what your purpose is, go to a deep, quiet place and ask and start seeking things from your heart, what it is that you want, so you can have answers. And I promise you, however you hear God, whether it's that deep gut, the little voice, your answer is there. When you stop seeing what's in the outside world and you start to focus within to see how you can be a better person, and that comes with just spending alone time and talking to God or whoever you believe in, and just really seeking that higher power, you are going to find it. But you can't do it alone. You have to go into a deep, quiet space and start praying. And that little feeling, a voice that you hear, the feeling, that is going to be your answer.
Yes. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, Rachel Almanza, make sure you guys are following her on all of her social. Make sure you're following the Crown Network, and make sure you are following Unplugged with Pam, the podcast brought to you by Chosen Global, where we are amplifying voices, allowing you to turn your purpose into power, and make sure you are plugging into your best and blessed life.
Yes. Tap in, y'all.